everybody, and welcome to another no damage run in the Binding of Isaac. This is the beginning of a new series that I am attempting to put up to YouTube and give to the Binding of Isaac world. This is a series of no damage runs similar to the one that I already put up, which you can find on my channel at FNinjaManiac. Except this series of runs is going to take every character just to Mom. So if and when we get to Mom, which we absolutely will because this is a successful run, we're going to stop, or at least I'm going to stop the video and probably keep playing to see how far I can make it with no damage. But the goal of these series is hopefully going to be to take every character through the Mom fight without taking any damage from enemies, although damage from things like walking into curse rooms, as I just did, playing blood banks, playing demon judgments, taking deals with the devil, things like that are allowed. And this is similar to the run that I already put up. I beat Satan without taking any damage. And again, you can find that video on my channel. And so I did that with Isaac. I know that, technically I've already put up a run with Isaac by doing that, where I went through to Mom, taking no damage, but since I was doing every character, I figured we'd start with Isaac. He's also arguably the easiest character to do this with, so it didn't take me very long. And we'll get to see another run where Isaac is our meat boy here. So, I'm going to try to talk about some of the things that are useful when trying to do a no damage run, some of the things you want to avoid, and maybe, how to avoid damage in certain rooms that it might not be so obvious in, because playing this run over and over again, trying to take no damage, forced me to come up with strategies to deal with rooms that really I hadn't thought about before. So, I guess I'll stop describing what we're doing and start talking about what I'm doing in the game, although Cellar 1, not too interesting. We picked up SMB Superfan, which is a sweet upgrade, because it gives us, I believe, an upgrade of every stat except for speed, which I'm almost positive is a downgrade. And that can be a pretty big problem when trying to take no damage. As I said in the no damage run to Satan, speed is one of the essential components of building a character that can go through each room avoiding damage. And again, it's not something that you would usually consider in a normal Isaac run. Nah, that's terrible. Because usually you're willing to take one or two hits, and speed really doesn't seem like the most important stat compared to something like damage or tears, which are obviously the most important when trying to beat Isaac or Blue Baby. So, okay, just to review, if you watched the other video, I said this before, but if not, the most important strat early in the run is definitely going to be trying to get a deal with the devil. This is, for pretty obvious reasons, but it may not be as clear how really 100% essential it is to building a character that can do the run. Getting stuff like the Pact, the Mark, which upgrades your tears, your speed, and obviously your damage, is just so important going into the caves and the catacombs. Obviously, that was a tricky little bugger. Obviously the caves are a lot easier. I think both floors present, some of the biggest challenge when trying to do a no damage run relative to the stats that your character will usually have starting out of the third floor. So, for instance, Catacombs 1, I think can sometimes be the hardest floor to do relative to the strength that you'll usually have going into Catacombs 1, having taken only... Ooh, that's a brilliant pickup. Extra speed is incredibly useful. Having picked up only 2 item room items, 2 boss items, so say you pick up like a health upgrade and a cube of meat, and, SMB Superfan is good, and the extra speed, this is obviously a pretty good setup starting off, but getting that early deal with the devil on the second boss fight, I guess, really gives you the potential to create a character that can deal with those catacomb rooms that have the bouncing greed heads. trying to think of other really nasty catacomb stuff that can get you. The rooms that have the hallways, or what I call the hallways with the pits around them, where you can have the little white silkworms that are going to charge at you. And, rooms like that are incredibly difficult to deal with without taking a single hit. So, okay, we did get our first deal with the devil, which is super useful. We have plenty of health. And these items suck pretty bad. I assume I'm going to re-roll them. I have no remember. Okay, good. Mark's pretty good. I'm picking up Horror of Babylon because since health is really not that important on these runs, I'm going to be looking to get rid of those. Well, not really going to be looking to get rid of those 2 hearts, but I'll be hoping to. So this is a very good example of a room that I had no idea how to deal with originally. So an important thing to remember is if you do not move, those silkworms will not run at you. Now I do not believe this is true if the silkworms are passing you by, like if they're going perpendicular to the way that you are facing. If they're passing you by, I think they can run at you even if you haven't taken a single step. But if they start out, in line with you and they're walking either towards you or away from you, if you don't move, they won't run. And the only way to take no damage in that room without, being powerful enough to kill the silkworm before he gets to you is to not move. And I had no idea that this was true for a really long time when I was doing these runs, and that room would get me every time. The other thing is when you walk in to that room from the other side. So if you're walking into the side of the room with the silkworms, the first one will cross you perpendicularly. So I don't think the strategy works of just standing still and waiting for him to come unless you're incredibly powerful and you can take him out in only a couple of shots. I think what you have to do is, before he gets to you, you move out into his hallway to get him to chase you. And then by getting him to chase you, he'll actually pass you by, and you can, if this makes sense. Here's this room again. Yeah, so if you're looking at the left side, if you're coming in on the left side, you just kind of have to sneak out, kind of like to the hallway where I'm standing right now. So he passes you by, and you can get a couple of extra shots in and kill him. I think most people who play a lot of this game have probably come up with that strategy before or discovered that strategy before, but you have to be paying enough attention every time you walk into a room to pull it off, immediately, because if you don't, your run is gone. And really, more than anything else, that can just be mentally frustrating. You play the basement or the cellar a number of times in a row waiting for a decent setup, and when you finally get it, it can feel like the pressure is on not to mess it up, so that you don't have to spend another 20 or 30 minutes just like grinding through the first couple floors waiting for a good deal with the devil. Okay, so Tears Up is awesome. These leapers obviously present one of the biggest problems in the game. They are annoying as fuck, and I would say that they are one of the most difficult enemies for me personally to deal with. I'm not saying that they're necessarily the most difficult enemy in the game. I think that there are some enemies that I'm just, I don't know, innately bad at dealing with. Probably some I'm innately good at dealing with too, but those are one of the worst. Krampus is absolutely the worst, and if I ever fight him on a video, I will go on a huge rant about how much I hate him, how terrible he is, how I've seen other people playing well, and I can't understand it, no matter how many hundreds of hours I dump into this game. I simply can't. I can't feel confident fighting Krampus, so I hate him every time. So I'm ditching the D6 here, and for the Unicorn Horn, which is usually considered a pretty mediocre item. The reason for this is because the Unicorn Horn is a safety item. It's an item that, if you walk into a room where you think you're going to take damage, it can allow you to get out of that room scot-free. And, if I was trying to take this to Mom's Heart, or I was trying to take this to Satan, or, God forbid, take it to Isaac or Blue Baby, I think I probably would have stuck with the D6 instead of picking up the Unicorn Horn, because the Unicorn Horn, it takes 6 individual rooms or individual charges to to get recharged, and so it's not really it's not the best safety item you can pick up. I mean, it's not the worst because I would say usually it guarantees clearing out the entire room because of how powerful it is. But the Book of Shadows and Mom's Bra, I think, are the best items. They only take 3 rooms to charge, and including the room that you clear when you use it. So really 2 more rooms, and usually you can clear out the entire room with the amount of time they give you. Alternatively, Spider Butt is an incredibly useful item. I guess I'm checking how much range I have. I don't know why I was checking that though. I don't know what I would do besides pick it up. Spider Butt's an incredibly useful item because it only takes 1 extra room to charge, and it does act as a pretty good deterrent. It slows every enemy down. I think it acts as a mini Necronomicon. It's not guaranteed like the Book of Shadows and Mom's Bra usually is, and definitely Unicorn Horn. I've used Spider Butt a number of times on a room that I think I'm going to take damage on. Slow the enemies down, fight them, and I end up taking damage anyway. So, I mean, it's not a wash, but it's just utter garbage. So this is kind of a tricky room. You just got to be careful. This is the kind of room where if I hadn't picked up that speed upgrade earlier through, what do we pick it up through? The Mark. I think the likelihood of getting hit on this room is, I mean, it's not guaranteed. I think you can kind of literally get away from these guys, but it becomes a lot more difficult without having flying or some speed upgrade. So yeah, here's Spider Butt. Again, I think if I was rolling with the Unicorn Horn already, oh, this is awesome. I definitely want the compass. If I was rolling with the Unicorn Horn already and I was trying to go further in the game than I'm going in this particular run, I might roll with Spider Butt just because it gives you so many more opportunities to use that safety item. It gives you, I don't know, it gives you a feeling of security that I generally don't have with the Unicorn Horn. When an item takes 6 rooms to charge, you really hesitate to use it every time you're in a situation where you think you might want to use it. That happens with the Book of Belial all the time when you start playing as Judas, It's like, well, should I really use the Book of Belial in this room? You only have a moment to decide, and you almost always think, it would really be better to save it. But on a run where your run ends the moment you take a hit of damage, you kind of have to get out of that mindset and remember that if you can get through the room that you're on, you can keep going. And if you get hit even once, you're done. So usually it's better to err on the side of using the item rather than saving it, because you'll have so many runs end where you just, you think to yourself, if only I had used that item, I could have gotten through that room and I probably could have picked up something great on the next room. Or maybe you just keep playing even though you take a hit and you realize that you would have picked up a Mom's Knife on the next room or something. You're like, oh no, my Mom's Knife opportunity is done. That actually brings us to Mom's Knife, which I haven't picked up. I'm sure I will pick up Mom's Knife on one of these no damage runs with one of these characters. I actually find it is not the greatest item in the world to use for a no damage run early in the game. Now I know people are going to be saying, that's absolutely nuts. If you know how to use it, it's the best item ever. There's no way that it's not the number 1 item you should be looking for. And that could be true. I might just not know how to use it super effectively. It's like, I don't use the cheat engine, so I kind of the number of times I've used Mom's Knife is the number of times that it's appeared and I've decided to take it, which granted is a bunch because I've played this game for so many hours, but it's not it doesn't appear enough times like Brimstone does, where I really feel like I get a ton of practice in, and I can kind of gain the skill necessary to take out each room, without taking damage or something. Mom's Knife, I'm flailing around constantly. If I don't have flying, it's like I never know how far the knife is going to fly, or it seems like the kind of item where when I pick it up, I do agree with a lot of people that basically, barring unforeseen, tragedies, the run should be won. You should be able to kind of make a victorious run out of picking up Mom's Knife, but that almost always comes along with taking a number of random hits on the way, and it's not something you notice until you really try to take 0 hits in the entire run. So this floor was pretty easy so far. Caves, obviously, we're not dealing with the catacombs, so these rooms are fairly easy, although, as I'm looking at that room, I can just remember the millions of times that I've done these runs, and I've gotten hit on it. Again, this room, a bunch of silkworms. I've gotten hit on this room a number of times, too. I could probably say that about every single room in the game, the number of times that I've tried these no damage runs. But, it's generally fairly easy. Little Chad is, garbage because he gives you an item that is not at all useful. I would say not at all useful. Oh my god, see, that was close. In the regular game, let alone in a damage run. See, that's the kind of instance where I'm really thinking, we're going down to Necropolis next, and I really want to save my unicorn horn, but if I hadn't used it there, I would absolutely have gotten hit. So these are excellent items to pick up. Getting flying is super useful defensively, and not only is taking the Pact going to give us more tiers, damage, and I think maybe a little bit of speed, but it also is going to give us Whore of Babylon, right? I think we should be in... Shouldn't we be in Whore of Babylon state now? I'm almost sure that I got Whore of Babylon, or I think... I'm almost positive that I picked up Whore of Babylon earlier in this run, although you have to forgive me. I've done so many millions of these runs, including a bunch where I get, through to Mom, so this one is not, like, super unique in my mind. This is the first time, and possibly the only time I will watch... Well, only time I will watch this run. But, I have absolutely no memory of whether I got it. I just thought my head would be a lot bigger if I did have Whore of Babylon. Usually it makes you huge. And I think I remember having, like, the flying SMB superfan red head Whore of Babylon state character. I can kind of remember what that looks like. I thought it's, like, monstrous, but whatever. Well, I guess, my character seems to be doing pretty well, so he's not too worried about it. Now that we've picked up the compass, we picked it up, I guess, like, either on the last floor or the floor before it. I think at this point we're probably strong enough to just start running towards the boss room each time. I mean, conveniently, the item room is on the way, and I have enough keys that I don't need to worry about, like, looking for them. But I think if it wasn't, it's very possible at this point in the game that I would not go out of my way to go to the item room, just on the chance, on the off chance, well, not the off chance, on the chance that I might get hit. And that can be a really tricky decision when going through these runs in general, which is no matter what your strength is. Should I go out of my way to go to extra rooms that I don't have to progress in the game in order to make myself stronger so that later on, I have a better chance of winning. And, I mean, the problem with that comes if you're weak, you obviously think, well, there's a huge chance that I'm going to get hit on one of these rooms because I don't feel that strong. Although going to these rooms might, give me a random item. I could pick up a damage upgrade. There could be like a pentagram in that mob trap room, whatever. Picking up the tick's an interesting decision here. So, because I obviously don't need the Polaroid because we're only going to Mom, and I like the health down on these bosses. But if you're really strong and you're considering going to other rooms, even though you think you have a good chance of, taking no damage, you think to yourself, is it really worth it to risk, this great run just to go to a couple of extra rooms? And I think usually I think to myself, like, no, it's not. Even though I think it's really a tough call. It's a terrifying room. Oh my god! All right, I'm like watching with bated breath. I can't just be careful. Ooh, Cube of Meat might have just saved me there. I couldn't really tell, but it kind of looked like, wow, that was close. It kind of looked like one of the shots, I think from the bottom left turret, was like coming right at me, and I don't think I took any damage. So that was incredibly lucky. Obviously, finding the pentagram in the mob trap room, as I predicted when I was using my hypothetical, telling my hypothetical story on the last floor. I really didn't mean to kind of like foreshadow this incident. I have no memory of doing this. but it is incredibly rare to pick up the pentagram in the mob trap room. Or I guess this is the boss trap room, but still, I mean, it's happened to me a couple of times, but I feel incredibly blessed when it does. So yeah, again, in these boss trap rooms, like, I would not pick up an item, I think, at this strength if it wasn't kind of like as good as the pentagram is, because fighting Pete, even at this strength, you can easily take a hit off of one of his stray shots, or his eyes floating around. He's not a super easy boss to get through without taking damage. But we're pretty close to the mom fight here. Um, uh, Really, I don't foresee too many problems happening, except really getting hit on the mom fight itself, which, although I think usually people describe it, don't pick up that heart, okay, because I think I still have a bad one. People generally describe the mom fight, and I'm usually with them, as not super difficult. Um, Again, and this is, I know I sound repetitive when I say this over and over again, but when you try to do it taking no damage, it's a totally different animal. And the number of times that I've gotten hit, especially with Red Mom, where it's really difficult to dodge the shots coming out of her eye, or Blue Mom when the enemies are a lot stronger, if you don't have some kind of safety item, then it can be incredibly difficult to get through that fight. But okay, here we are. We've come this far, this hard, this long. That sounded wrong. We just got to get Mom down to a place where we think the unicorn horn will take us all the way, because obviously we don't want the semi-random hit from the foot destroying this beautiful run. So we want to be able to take it all the way down while still invincible. But I was a little worried about that stray shot, so I don't know. Let's see if we can get her all the way. And it is done. Alright, everybody. Well, thanks for watching this first of what will hopefully be so many runs through to Mom. And next time we'll be back with Maggie takes no damage through to the Mom fight. So, yeah. I'm going to continue playing, but you're done watching. See you next time.